Welcome to our deep dive today,
Okay.
where we're going to be exploring the Serbian Orthodox Church,
Right.
its history, its culture, and the role it's played in the lives of the Serbian people.
Cool.
Whether you're brushing up for a big meeting, just fascinated by this corner of history,
Right. Right.
or have personal ties to the church,
hmm
I think you're going to find this journey pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a story that often gets overshadowed in the grand narrative of European history,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely crucial for understanding the Serbian people
Yeah.
and their cultural identity.
We're basing our deep dive on a really detailed blog post from the Orthodox Christian Tools website
Okay.
called Exploring the Rich Legacy of the Serbian Orthodox Church, Hypocrisy, Culture, and Spirituality.
Okay.
Now, don't let the word blog fool ya. This thing is packed with information.
Right.
Our job is to sift through it all and
Yeah.
highlight the nuggets you'll actually remember.
Exactly. We're going to give you the context, the key players, and those aha moments that make history come alive.
So let's rewind all the way back to the 6th and 7th centuries.
Okay.
Imagine Slavic tribes, including the Serbs, migrating into the Balkans.
Yeah.
They're encountering a region that already has traces of Christianity, but the sources from this period
Mm.
are like puzzle pieces scattered across time.
Oh, wow. So we're talking about fragments from the List of Nations, the Panegyric to Basil,
Right.
the Tactics of Emperor Leo VI.
Exactly.
They give us glimpses of a world where Christianity existed,
Yeah.
but the Serbs themselves were still largely pagan.
So it wasn't a sudden mass conversion, but more of a slow burn that took place over centuries, right?
Exactly. The process started in the 7th and 8th centuries,
Oh, yeah.
but really gained momentum a couple of centuries later.
Right.
There's this fascinating detail about Emperor Heraclius sending priests all the way from Rome
Oh,
to convert the Serbs.
okay.
It makes you realize how interconnected the early Christian world was,
Yeah.
even across what would later become distinct branches of the faith.
It's interesting because we often think of the split between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches as this huge defining event,
Right.
but here we see those lines blurring in the early days.
Exactly. And even with these efforts,
Yeah.
widespread conversion didn't truly take hold
Yeah,
until the ruling class embraced Christianity.
I see.
The source mentions Serbian rulers literally calling their subjects to the riverbank for mass baptisms.
Wow.
It makes you wonder how much of it was genuine belief spreading from the top down and how much was about political power and control.
That image of everyone lined up at the riverbank is powerful and a little bit unnerving.
Yeah.
It definitely highlights the close relationship between religious authority and political authority even back then.
Absolutely. Conversion from the top down was a recurring theme in the spread of Christianity
Yeah.
throughout Europe.
Now let's fast forward to the 12th century.
Okay.
We meet a pivotal figure, Saint Sava, who is not your typical saint.
Right.
This guy runs off to Mount Athos at 16 to become a monk, almost a classic teenage rebellion story, right?
Except instead of starting a band, he founds a monastery.
Haha.
But what's truly fascinating is how his father, Stefan Nemanja, who united most of the Serbian lands,
Right.
follows him to Mount Athos
Really?
and also becomes a monk.
That's wild.
You could almost imagine the family drama
Oh, I know, right?
that must have unfolded.
Talk about a plot twist. So they established the Highlander Monastery together,
Yeah.
which is still active today, right?
Yes, and this foundation of monastic life, a place of scholarship and spiritual practice,
Right.
becomes crucial to Sava's mission.
Mm.
He eventually returns to Serbia,
Okay.
not just for a family reunion,
Right.
but to establish an independent Serbian church.
Oh, wow.
He saw the need to train priests locally and create a distinct identity for the Serbian Orthodox Church.
And he actually succeeds. In 1219, the Serbian church gets that independence, becoming what's called autocephalous.
Yes, autocephalous means self-governing. They're no longer under the authority of another patriarch, answering only to their own leadership.
Wow.
This was a huge moment for the Serbian people, a declaration of both national and spiritual independence.
So it wasn't just about religious doctrine, it was about establishing a distinct Serbian identity on the world stage.
And Sava didn't stop there.
Oh, really?
He went on to establish 8 more dioceses,
Wow.
each centered around a monastery.
Okay.
These monasteries weren't just religious centers.
Right.
They became hubs of learning,
Yeah.
art,
Yeah.
and social support,
Interesting.
helping to shape Serbian culture in a profound way.
This push for independence, for carving out their own space,
Yeah.
it must have ruffled some feathers.
Right.
Who opposed this move, and what were their motivations?
The source mentions the Ohrid Archbishopric,
Okay.
which had previously held jurisdiction over Serbian churches.
I see.
They weren't too happy about losing their authority and influence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is a reminder that even in matters of faith, politics and power dynamics are always at play.
It's human nature, isn't it? There are always those who benefit from the existing power structures and will resist change. So we've got an independent Serbian church laying the groundwork for what's to come.
Right.
But things are about to get even more interesting as we move into the 14th century.
Right.
Enter Stefan Dusan, an ambitious ruler with dreams of an empire.
And what does every great empire need?
I don't know. What does it?
A powerful church to legitimize its rule and influence the hearts and minds of the people.
Which is exactly what Stefan Dusan sets out to do.
Yes.
He elevates the Serbian church to the status of a patriarchate in 1346.
Okay.
Can you break down for our listener what that actually means in the hierarchy of the Orthodox world?
Of course, a patriarchate is essentially the top tier in the Orthodox Church, signifying a high level of prestige and autonomy. It's a statement of power and influence.
So it's a big deal?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Dusan also bestowed upon the patriarch the grand title of Patriarch of the Serbian and Maritime Lands.
Oh, wow.
Highlighting the extent of their ambition and reach.
So not just a Serbian empire,
Right.
but a maritime one as well.
Exactly.
It's interesting how they use the church to project that image of power.
Yes. And this move had a profound impact on the relationship
really?
between the Serbian Church and the Patriarchate of Constantinople.
I see.
The original seat of Orthodox authority.
Right.
They weren't exactly thrilled about this upstart patriarchate challenging their influence.
So basically they said, no way.
Pretty much in 1346, the Patriarch of Constantinople excommunicated the Serbian Patriarch.
Wow, this excommunication must have sent shockwaves through the Serbian church.
It certainly did.
What were the long-term consequences of this conflict?
It led to years of tension and strained relations.
Okay.
However, in 1375, a reconciliation was brokered.
Okay.
And it's fascinating to note that monks from Mount Athos,
Right.
the very place where St. Sava's journey began, played a key role in mediating the peace.
Huh, interesting.
It speaks to the influence and respect that these monastic communities held within the broader Orthodox world.
It's like a full circle moment with Mount Athos playing a crucial role at both the beginning and this turning point
Exactly.
in the Serbian church's quest for independence and recognition.
But unfortunately, this period of relative peace and stability wouldn't last.
Sounds ominous. What happened?
The storm clouds are gathering on the horizon,
Okay.
and they have a name. The Ottoman Empire.
The Ottoman Empire? This doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. The rise of the Ottomans would cast a long shadow over the Balkans,
Okay.
marking the beginning of a challenging new chapter for the Serbian Orthodox Church.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Serbian Orthodox Church. Before the break, we left off with the looming threat of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
This period is going to test the resilience of the church in ways it had never experienced before.
It's a period of immense hardship and persecution, but also one of incredible resilience and adaptation.
Right.
As the Ottomans conquered the Balkans,
Yeah.
the Serbian people, and by extension the Serbian Orthodox Church, found themselves living under a new and often oppressive regime.
The source mentions the horrific practice of the blood tax,
Yeah.
where Ottoman authorities would take Christian children to be raised as Janissaries soldiers loyal to the Sultan.
I see.
It's a stark reminder of the brutality of the times and the lengths to which empires would go to solidify their power.
It was a devastating policy that ripped families apart
Yeah.
and created a deep-seated fear and resentment among the Christian population.
Yeah, absolutely.
It also highlights the complex role the church was forced to play under Ottoman rule.
You mentioned adaptation. What did that look like for the church during this time? Did they simply submit to Ottoman authority, or were there ways they pushed back?
It was a balancing act of survival. Church leaders were often placed in the difficult position of acting as intermediaries between the Ottoman rulers and the Serbian people. They were forced to collect taxes for the Ottomans, a role that earned them the title of ethnarch, but also placed them in a morally ambiguous position.
That must have been a heavy burden to bear, to be seen as collaborators by some while trying to protect their communities from the worst excesses of Ottoman rule.
It was definitely a tough spot.
It's a testament to their strength that they managed to navigate such treacherous waters.
Exactly. And amidst these incredibly difficult circumstances,
Yeah.
the Serbian Orthodox Church became a vital anchor for the Serbian people.
Okay.
It provided a sense of continuity, of shared identity and cultural heritage in a time when everything else seemed to be in flux.
So in a way, the oppression they faced under the Ottomans actually strengthened their bond with the church.
In many ways, yes.
Yeah.
It reinforced the church's role as a preserver of Serbian culture and identity. Monasteries continued to be centers of learning and artistic expression, keeping the flame of Serbian tradition alive. And even under Ottoman rule, there were moments of resurgence, brief glimpses of hope that hinted at a brighter future.
The source mentions a period of revival under Mehmed Pasha Sokolovic,
Oh,
who served as Grand Vizier to the Sultan.
Yes.
He was of Serbian origin, which adds another layer of complexity to this story.
it's a fascinating example of how fluid identity could be,
Right.
even within the rigid structure of the Ottoman Empire. Sokolovic used his position to support the Serbian Orthodox Church, allowing for a period of rebuilding and relative autonomy. It demonstrates that even within systems of oppression, individuals can make a difference and carve out spaces for cultural and religious expression.
It's a reminder that history isn't always black and white.
Yeah.
There are shades of gray moments of collaboration and resistance that make the story richer and more nuanced. But as we know, the Ottoman Empire was vast, and its rule over time became increasingly fragmented. How did this fragmentation impact the Serbian Orthodox Church?
Well, as the Ottoman Empire weakened, so too did its control over the various regions and populations under its rule. By 1766, the once unified Serbian Orthodox Church had fractured into 7 separate areas, each navigating its own unique challenges and opportunities.
So it's no longer one church with a single voice,
Right.
but multiple branches adapting to different local realities.
Exactly. The source provides some intriguing glimpses into these regional variations. For example, Serbs living in Dalmatia under Venetian rule defied bans and elected their own bishop. It's a powerful example of how, even within the constraints of foreign rule, the desire for religious self-determination remained strong.
It's another example of that resilience and determination that seems to be a hallmark of the Serbian Orthodox Church throughout its history.
Definitely. And even as these regional branches develop their own unique identities, the idea of a unified Serbian Orthodox Church, a symbol of national unity and cultural heritage, never truly faded.
Which brings us to another fascinating aspect of this story, the political intrigue surrounding the patriarchal throne. The source mentions a dispute between the Karađorđević and Petrović dynasties,
Oh, yeah.
both claiming the rightful claim to the patriarchal seat.
This dispute highlights the deep connection between religious and political authority, even within the fractured landscape of the late Ottoman period. Control of the church wasn't just about spiritual leadership. It was about legitimacy, about the power to shape the narrative of Serbian identity and history.
So it wasn't just about theological debates. It was about who would hold the symbolic power and influence that came with leading the Serbian Orthodox Church.
Exactly. And this tension between different factions within the church, the echoes of historical rivalries and political ambitions, will continue to play a role as we move into the 20th century and the long-awaited moment of Serbian unification.
Which I have a feeling will bring its own set of challenges and triumphs for the Serbian Orthodox Church.
Indeed, the 20th century would be a tumultuous period marked by wars, political upheavals, and ideological conflicts, all of which would have a profound impact on the church and its relationship with the Serbian people.
Well, it sounds like we're about to head into another fascinating chapter in this story, and we'll delve into all of that when we return for the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've journeyed through centuries of Serbian Orthodox Church history, from its early beginnings to the challenges of Ottoman rule and the fight for autonomy. As we enter the 20th century, it feels like we're reaching a turning point.
Absolutely. The 20th century brought the long-awaited unification of the Serbian people, but it also ushered in an era of intense change and upheaval, with 2 world wars, the rise and fall of the communism, and the redrawing of national borders.
And in the midst of all this turmoil, the Serbian Orthodox Church finds itself grappling with its role in a rapidly changing world.
It's a period of both triumph and tribulation. The Serbian Patriarchate is restored in 1920, centered in Belgrade, marking a moment of great national and religious pride. After centuries of fragmentation of foreign rule, the Serbian Orthodox Church is once again a unified institution, a symbol of a newly independent Serbian nation.
You can almost feel the collective exhale, the sense of relief and hope that must have swept through the Serbian people. But as we know, the 20th century was anything but peaceful. How did the church navigate the turbulent waters of war and political ideology?
Well, World War II was particularly devastating. The church faced persecution from both the Nazi occupiers and the communist partisans who eventually came to power in Yugoslavia.
The source mentions the communist government seizing church property, a tactic we've seen repeated throughout history when regimes seek to suppress religious institutions. It's a reminder that even in modern times, the church is not immune to the political forces that shape the world around it.
Precisely. And the communist era presented its own set of challenges. The official ideology of atheism clashed with the church's teachings, leading to a period of restricted religious freedom. Yet despite these pressures, the Serbian Orthodox Church persevered, finding ways to adapt and maintain its spiritual and cultural influence.
It's another testament to that resilience we've seen throughout their history. The ability to bend without breaking, to find ways to exist and thrive even in the face of adversity.
Exactly. But even as the church faced external pressures, it also experienced internal divisions. The source mentions the American Schism in 1963 and the Macedonian church splitting off in 1969. These events highlight the complexities of modern Orthodoxy, where national identities, political pressures, and theological debates all intersect.
So even as they were finally unified as a nation, they were still grappling with questions of autonomy and authority within the church itself. It shows that the quest for a single unified voice is often more complicated than it seems.
Absolutely. And these internal divisions reflect the challenges faced by many religious institutions in the modern world. How do you maintain unity in the face of diverse perspectives and evolving societal norms? It's an ongoing dialogue, a process of adaptation and reconciliation that continues to this day.
And as we approach the present day, the Serbian Orthodox Church is led by Patriarch Porphyrej, who took office in 2021. He's overseeing a vast institution with 39 dioceses, thousands of parishes, and a rich monastic tradition. It's amazing to think about the journey we've taken from those early uncertain conversions to this sprawling, influential institution.
It really is. It's a testament to the enduring power of faith and the deep connection between the Serbian Orthodox Church and the Serbian people. Throughout their history, they've turned to the church for guidance, for solace, for a sense of belonging, and for the preservation of their cultural heritage.
And as we conclude our deep dive, I'm left with a sense of awe at the sheer scope of this story. It's a story of faith and politics, of resilience and adaptation, of triumph and tragedy. It's a story that speaks to the enduring human need for meaning, for connection, and for something larger than ourselves.
And it's a story that's still being written.
Yeah.
I think a key takeaway for our listeners is to consider the intricate ways in which religion, culture, and national identity intertwine. How does faith shape our values, our choices, our understanding of the world? How do institutions both preserve and constrain us? These are questions worth pondering not just in the context of the Serbian Orthodox Church, but in our own lives as well.
Beautifully said. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to keep exploring. Our source is a great starting point, but there's a whole world of knowledge out there waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep diving deep.